pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Sue.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Here.
Commissioner Desjardins.
Here.
Commissioner Byrd.
Here.
Commissioner Prunick. Here. Mayor Barry.
Here. Okay, before we start, just a couple of house rules, and I think Michelle might have those in her slides as well. We'll go through the presentation, and we will have Q&A after, and then we'll have commission Q&A. So just to keep the continuity and keep the presentation rolling. There will be public comment at the end, and I do ask that the public comment be made on anything that was not already asked in the Q&A. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Michelle Harrison, our city manager.
Yeah, hi everybody, I am Michelle Harrison. I am the new city manager here, so I see some familiar faces, but if you haven't met me, Michelle Harrison. We are here tonight to talk about our water rate evaluation. I am doing a PowerPoint, so people in the back, you may need to come to the front, and some chairs might need to be shifted, so if you find you can't see and you want to see, feel free to bring up your chair, and if you want to move in the middle of the presentation, come on up, that helps you see better. So, I just want to establish before we jump in that water rates are evaluated every year, so the fact that we're doing this is typical. When we're evaluating the water rates, we consider our operational costs, debt, new projects, and reserve funding. So these things kind of change every year, which is why we have to evaluate them every year. And the water rates do increase a little bit every year. This year, we've got some things going on, so it's possible we're evaluating raising the rates a little bit above average. So, and we do need to stay on top of our infrastructure to make sure everything is working effectively in our water utility. And the city does recognize that an increase to the water rate has impacts to the community, which is why we are having this meeting tonight to kind of go through the water rate evaluation. Okay. All right, so meeting goals. I do want to establish some background information about the water utility just to make sure we're navigating the conversation on the same page. So you will learn a lot about the water utility tonight. We'll do a review of the water utility. We'll discuss the utility finances, kind of talk about the water rate evaluation, and then we will have a recommendation on water rates. And then Chris just kind of talked about this. We have some ground rules. So I'm going to go through the presentation. We're going to hold questions till the end. The commissioners will be kind of first in line for the questions. Public involvement, public comment is very important. So after the commissioners have asked their questions about the presentation, we'll have questions only from public. And then if you have a public comment, we will open up the floor to that. For questions, gotta remember what I need everybody to say. So for questions, people will need to state their name, address, or city affiliation before they ask their question. And then when we do the public comment, you're gonna have to come up to the podium, and there's a 4-minute limit on the public comments. Okay. All right, so part of the background information we're gonna go through is definitions. It's important that everybody knows or that we're all talking about the same thing. So water utility seems kind of basic, but the water utility is the department within the city that provides the piped water to your facility, which would be maybe your business, your home. Water system, that's the same thing as water utility. Sometimes I go back and forth. I'm going to try and use water utility tonight. But if I say water system, same thing as water utility. Sewer utility, that is separate. In the city, it views the water utility and the sewer utility as two separate entities. So tonight, I know a lot of people kind of just think of that as one conglomerate. Tonight, for the sake of this conversation, we gotta split it out. We're just talking about the water utility. And then let's look at the water. I'm gonna skip ahead here. So kind of also in that same thought, when you get your water bill, it's the water and sewer bill. And again, when you're thinking of that, we're just thinking about the water portion. So there's a water like per gallon fee, and then there's a water service fee. There's also this a sewer per gallon fee and a sewer service fee. Again, for tonight, separate those two. We're just talking about the water component. Okay, another couple terms, water main. These are the pipes that are buried under the ground, up and in the middle of the road, that bring water around town. They're also referred to as mains. So for this conversation, if you hear mains, that means water main, water pipe. Context of this conversation, that means water main, water pipe, or water main, water pipe, all the same thing. Service line, that's the little line that taps into the water main and brings water to your facility, your house, and then you have plumbing inside of your house that brings water to the faucet. We got a lot of people that can't see the presentation. Are you guys doing okay back there, or do you need to see?
It'd be nice to see.
We got a couple chairs up here, and there, you can bring a chair up if you want. Okay, so keep going here. Enterprise fund. That is a city department where rates and fees are set to cover the cost of service. And these departments cannot be funded with tax dollars. So the water utility is an example of an enterprise fund. R&R, that stands for repair and replacement. So we talk about that in the context, we have a pump. It's getting old, we need to repair, replace it. So you'll see or hear that term. O&M, that stands for operation and maintenance. CPI, that's a fancy term for inflation, and it stands for consumer price index. The utility uses CPI, aka inflation, and we use a specific CPI, which is provided by the federal government. It's for utilities in the Midwest. And then infrastructure, basically in the context of this conversation, we're talking about the physical components of the water utility. So like if we're talking about the water tower, that is water infrastructure. Water mains, that's water infrastructure. And then we have bond loaned. Bond is a fancy way to say we're taking a loan from the government. So you'll see, that'll be a term that we use quite a bit in this presentation. All right, so let's talk about what our water utility provides. It provides clean, safe drinking water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And we actually do a really good job at that, and our water utility was named Michigan Rural Water Utility of the Year. So that's wonderful for us. The water utility provides water for protection. We monitor state and federal regulations, and we ensure that our water is compliant with those. We maintain infrastructure, we provide system and administration, and the water utility actually provides opportunity for community expansion. You don't often think about that, but without a good water utility, it's not as easy for developers to come in and build housing or businesses. So it is an interesting component to keep in mind. And then the water utility provides peace of mind. So when you're at home and you turn on the faucet, you don't need to wonder, is this safe, clean drinking water? It is. We provide that peace of mind for you. Oops, wrong way. Okay, what about the physical components of the water utility? Our water utility has 6 groundwater wells. That's where we get our raw water from. We have some well pump houses that protect the wells. We have 3 of those. We have a water tower, which you see, and then water storage tanks. There's 3 of those. Water distribution, so the water mains that take the water around town, we have about 20 miles of those. We have 160 fire hydrants, and then we have various distribution equipment, pumps, booster station, trucks, things like that. Okay, and then number of customers, we have about 1,030 customers. Of course, that ebbs and flows all the time, but about 800 of those are residential customers. And then we sell about 67 million gallons of water per year, on average.
So what did you number of customers?
We're gonna keep questions till the end.
Hold that
All
thought.
right, thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the purpose of the water bill, which does sound a little bit silly, it's kind of obvious, but in the context of how the water bills kind of flow into the fees that cover the operation of the water utility, it's important to look at some different aspects. So operation costs. User fees need to cover the operation costs. So we have a whole, if you can't see, I have a whole list of things up here. We've got administrative costs, we've got engineering costs, we're paying electric bills, we're paying heating costs, we've got maintenance and repair costs, general system maintenance, we need to do valve and hydrant maintenance, all sorts of things like that. User fees also need to fund our debt payments. And debt payments are the repayments of our loans or bonds that we've taken from the government. And an example of a project that we have taken or used a bond to pay for is the M28 project that happened a couple of years back. We used a bond for that. There are a couple new projects that we've got. We've got the lead service line replacement project that's coming up this year. It's a $2.7 million project. It is mandated by the state, but good news, it's a great time to do this project because the state is paying for half of it. So that's good. Another project that we've got coming up is the Washington Street project. This project is going to touch the water and sewer system, but the water portion of the project is about $2.7 million. It's needed because the water main in that area is pre-World War II. We actually don't have the plans to say exactly what year it was built, but we think it was built in the late 1930s. So it's getting to be about 100 years old and it's past its design life. It's also small and doesn't provide great fire protection. So we do need to address that, and that project has been identified as something that the community needs to do since 2020. So it's been a long time coming that we have been working towards getting funding and trying to move forward with that project. And the new projects do impact rates, so that does kind of go into the rate analysis. The annual cost of our debt payments is about $580,000. Sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. It's a typical cost, so it's not out of the norm for a community the size of Munising to have that annual cost. Okay, so now we're going to talk about reserve funding. The utility does have to have reserves, and I think I do get comments saying, oh, why do we have to have reserves? Let's not have reserves and then we can keep costs down. Actually, having reserves helps us maintain system costs, and reserves are required by the government. So let's talk about, we've got 4 different bins of reserve funds, and let's talk about what those are and kind of how they help the utility and the community maintain costs. So the first reserve bin of funds that we have is operational reserves. Again, this is something that is required by any bond that we take. We have to have between 2 and 6 months of operational costs. Our goal right now is to have about $200,000 in reserves for the operation reserve kind of bucket. We're doing okay there. And the reason that we need that is because we spend money on expenses and then the user fees come in. We need to make sure that we're not going into the negative when we are kind of paying the electric bill and paying salaries and things like that. And then again, this is required, and actually not too long ago, around 2000, the city was not doing a good job of having reserve funding, and the state came in and they did what we call a consent order, and they forced the community to position their finances so we do have reserves. So that's kind of what got us into this position right now. And then for those of you that can see, 3 of the reserve boxes are green. That means we're doing okay. One of the boxes is kind of a yellow orangish. That's the one we're kind of having a little bit of an issue with. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, our reserve target is $2 million. We're at about $1 million. $2 million does sound like a lot of money. However, when you think of how much a water project costs, generally they're at least $1 million. $2 million is really not that much money. It doesn't go as far as it used to. Okay, so the second reserve fund that we have to look at is debt reserve. Again, this is required for any loan or bond that we take out. And basically, the government says if we're gonna lend you money, you need to have a reserve, so if chaos ensues, we can still get our payment on the loan. So they require that. Emergency capital. I gotta flip my notes, make sure I cover everything. So emergency capital reserves, ideally that would be about 10% of our assets, which is about $11 million. Right now I have a goal of $500,000 for us to have, so it's a little on the low side. We can work towards getting it higher. 500,000 is okay for now. But having the emergency reserve allows the utility to kind of weather some storms without raising fees. So if we had a major, if a well pump went down and we had to replace it, we have the money to do that, so we don't have to take out a loan, and we don't have to, the loans would have to be tacked onto the user fee. It allows us to kind of weather some storms without impacting our users. All right. So then we've got repair, replace, and improvement reserve funds. The improved reserve funds are for saving for new projects that we know are coming. We're not doing a great job on that. We know I'd love to have about $800,000 in that reserve fund. We know we have projects that we need to do. For example, Superior Street has a water main that is 125 years old that needs to be replaced, and we should be saving for that project. But more concerning is the repair and replace requirement. This is another requirement to take out loans or get a bond. Basically, repair or replace means this fund is dedicated to short-term assets. Any short-term asset that our utility has, or within reason, the short-term asset is defined as an item that needs to be replaced within the next 10 to 20 years, costs more than $1,000, or requires routine maintenance. Those are costs that the utility should be saving for and paying cash for. And basically by bonds putting a requirement on that, that demands that we do it. So it's kind of a mandated savings that we have. So some examples of things that we need to, that are in our repair and replacement kind of list of assets. We have the water tower. The water tower needs to be painted every 15 years. That costs about $200,000, which means we should be saving about $13,000 every year. So when that needs to be done again, we can just pay cash for it. We don't need to take out a loan. And then the disadvantage of taking out loans, interest, so we end up paying more for things. I've got well pumps and controls up there. Redoing the well pumps and controls, it's about $110,000. So that means we should be paying, and it's a 10-year lifespan. So we should be saving about $14,000 for that. So on and so forth. So we need about $190,000 a year to cover our repair and replacement requirement. And then just want to highlight some cost challenges that the utility has. The utility also has experienced rising costs, and some examples are we replaced a lift station pump in 2012. The pump was $4,500. We just bought another one this year, $15,000. So that's over 300% increase in that cost. Fire hydrants, everybody's familiar with those. 2010, they cost $3,200. 2025, $8,700. Copper tubing, which often is what we use for service lines to get water to homes. 2014, oh, I didn't put that price on there. Ron, what was that cost?
2014?
Was it 10?
Five.
Oh yeah, $4. It was about between $4 and $5 in 2014. Today, it's $21 a foot. So we've
100.
oh,
hey,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So we've actually done a pretty good job of, kind of navigating these cost increases and kind of keeping costs down to our users. But it is a challenge. Okay, so I think that's kind of the background information. So we'll kind of get into the finances of things. Okay, so highlight kind of where we're at just overall. So right now, if the water utility just kind of went along how it's been going, just an inflation increase, our revenue is about $1.3 million and our expenses is about $1.2 million. That leaves us with a reserve, kind of what we're bringing in for reserves is $80,000. And we need to bring in 190. So we're kind of in a situation where we're not doing any favors without looking at and doing an increase to the water rate. Okay, recommended water increase would allow us to bring in a revenue of $1.4 million. We'd still have an expense of $1.2 million. And we'd bring in $189,000, which is close enough to 190 to be acceptable. So what does it look like for the water bills, which I think is what everybody's been hoping to see? Let's take a look at that. And I've got 2 slides. This one's a little bit busy, so we'll walk through it. So with the recommended water rate, if you are kind of an average user, we estimate that households in Munising typically have two residents and use maybe around 2,000 gallons. Your water bill under the proposed rate would be about $49. Your old bill under the old rates would have been about $43. So that's about a $5.75 change per month.
Not even close.
So we've got
Not
different,
even close.
we've got different numbers here.
I'm sorry, not even close.
So I've got some different numbers here. If you are a higher than average user.
Yeah, Mayor.
Comments, please.
So if you're a
This is
high,
ridiculous.
if you're a higher than average user, maybe you use 12,000 gallons a month.
You have to take into account this is water. This isn't your entire bill. It's just the water portion.
So if you are higher than average user, your, under the new rate, we'd have about $154 a month.
The numbers are so bad.
Your old bill would have been about $135, so that's about an $18 change per month.
This is crazy.
Okay. So just to kind of put it differently, the per gallon charge, so this year's water per gallon charge is 0.00925 cents per gallon. Under the recommended rate, it goes up to 0.01049 cents per gallon. There's the monthly service fee. This year, it's $24.65. Under the recommended rate, it's $27.96. Okay, so my conclusion is, depending on what average you're using, the average water rate will increase about $8.25 per month. And this is required. It's necessary to support the water projects that the community needs, and it's required to meet our repair and replacement costs. Okay.
Thank you, Michelle. Any comments or questions from the commission?
I want to point something out before we take public comment. This is the water portion of your bill. When we say water bill, that's what you're thinking is your water and sewer bill, which come on the same bill. The water portion of your bill is approximately 2/5 of your total bill.
Does the commission have any questions?
I have no questions. I have several comments I can wait for later.
I have some math-based questions for you.
Okay.
Looking at slide 14, just so that way we can have everybody on the same page. Maybe on there too.
This one?
That one, yeah. I'm trying. So,
Not all the pages of.
So, when you had said that reserve funding was required for this, and I get that. Is the reserve funding mandated through enterprise funding? So, if we're required in having $2 million worth of reserves, can we make a payment out of our general fund to lessen the amount.
No.
No.
Okay.
And keep in mind, we don't have 2 million, that's just the goal.
The other one's nitpicky compared to the other one, so I'll pass.
Anybody else?
No, I got comments later, but not on this.
Any of you have any questions?
The tanks that you're
Hold
gonna
on.
paint, you mentioned there were.
Hold on.
Wait, and then just before we get into the questions, reminder that you gotta say your name and address before you jump into.
Please stand as well. Go ahead, John.
John Madigan, 831 West Michigan Avenue. I think it would be convenient and educational if you would go through the water fund revenues, expenses, and changes in deposition budget and actual for 2025. Do you have a copy of that?
I don't have it on hand, but I can get you one.
So could you go through and just maybe for the benefit of myself and these others, just explain what each one of those charges are? Because there's some that are just like, don't make sense to me.
Yeah, so this is from the.
Audit.
The audit, which is not necessarily the way that we look at the financing. So I don't know if this is like the perfect parallel. This does account for depreciation, which we're not including in the discussion here because we don't fund depreciation.
But there's like, I don't want to hog the questions, but, so we have a net revenue of 1.19 million. So personnel services of 377, is that the employees?
I believe so, I'd have to look at that a little more, I think so.
Professional services, 50,000.
That's like the engineering.
Other services and charges, 116,000.
I have to go back into the account to get the details on those.
Equipment rental, 79,000.
That's for the trucks that we use.
And then we have administrative, 61,000, personal services, is that for in the
Yep.
office? Okay.
Administrative.
Then we have other services and charges, 186,000.
I have to double check what that is. That gets wrapped into one
And
thing.
depreciation, 257.
But we don't
Which we
fund
don't fund.
depreciation.
Okay. And then net position, 2.3 million.
That does include some assets and does ebb and flow. So that is from
25.
yeah, so this is old.
Okay. And then transfer out, 382.
Then I have to double check what that is.
So those are my questions.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Please stand and name and address.
Do you want me here?
If you'd like to, that'd be great.
Graves, resident, and I just have a couple questions.
Name and address, please.
Pardon?
Name and address, please.
Kim Graves, resident, Nestor Street.
Address.
1454 Nestor. There's 1,030 homes, my understanding. Meters.
Customers.
Customers, okay, so the customers are they homes, are they businesses, are they motels, are they
It's a mix.
paper mill?
It's
Are they the
everything.
prison?
It's a mix. It's their customers.
Okay,
Of those, I think Michelle said 800 are residential.
Yep.
right. So what's the rates for the residents versus the businesses, the motels, the paper mill, the prison, I mean, I don't think we're paying, are we paying more? Are the businesses paying less?
No, it's
No.
per meter.
No difference.
No different.
No, no,
The difference is that like the larger businesses, like the paper mill, they have a much larger meter, so they get charged a lot more on that meter charge portion of the bill.
And like
Prison, yeah, they.
prison too and stuff.
Prison's meter charge is like, remember, I don't even know what it is.
But they're also out and it's
$4,000 a month or something.
1.5% more for the prison
Yeah, because they're out.
because they're out of the city limits.
So when you're saying the service charge, some are more, but,
Only based on the size of the meter.
okay. So I noticed that we used to be 3 months for payment, then 2 months, now we're every month. And it's roughly $39 a month, so it's about close to $500 per home. And if we have 1,000, that's about $500,000. What is that service? What is the service that we're all paying for, because we have water and we have sewer? what is it? Is it stamps? Is it mailing? What is the actual breakdown for what we're paying for the services? I mean, 2,000, if we're using 2,000 gallons, we're paying per gallonage. But that keeps going up, so.
Go ahead.
Kim, that's a ready-to-serve charge. All utilities have a ready-to-serve charge. You have a ready-to-serve charge on your sewer, and on your water, and on your gas, and on your electric. If you look at those bills, those are fixed charges, and in the city, those fixed charges are based upon the size of the water line coming into your house.
Aren't they all the same? Aren't houses the same?
The houses are, but we have different meter sizes for businesses.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know, it's a surcharge,
It's a fixed charge.
fixed charge. We used to get it every 3 months, and then we had it 2 months, now we're every month. So that kinda went up through the years.
Well, when we were doing 3-month billing, and that's been a long time since we did 3-month billing.
Right, and then it
that
went to
charge-
2.
That charge reflected 3 months' worth of fixed charges.
Yeah, and so I'm down 3 months out of the year and I don't have any water, and yet I still have the service charge 3 months out of the year that I don't even use the water.
But we still we would provide water for fire protection, things like that.
Well, and I guess that's what I'm looking for, what is it actually doing for us as a service? Not,
It maintains our distribution system, wells, pumps, tanks.
it's not Red's, money?
Yeah, it pays his wage as well.
How do we calculate that?
One other thing on the meters, are we going to digital meters, for the city going forward?
Should have
We should have all digital.
Are they all, ours wasn't, just
Yes.
recently.
Should be,
Now it is.
yeah.
Oh,
We
But I'm
are,
wondering,
with the upgrade of them, everybody went to the meter so that it's a
Cellular reads.
cellular.
yes, so you can go on your phone, you can say,
Yeah.
oh, I have a loss, I have a whatever. So I don't think a lot of people realize that when you're somewhere else, that is an option that may save you money and all employees too, by using what was it?
Cellular.
Cellular. I think. Oh, just one other thing, I noticed last fall that we were having problems with the water, I think because of the tanks, and we got, it's almost like a scaling or a moldy water. We noticed it with our toilets, it was kind of, not real good. And Red, what is that? Is it because of the tanks up on
Well,
the?
we have flushed the fire hydrants a little before that, so when you flush them, you turn loose all that scale and silt that's built up in the mains. So a lot of times the homeowners will get that. So we just say to broaden out your water until it clears up.
Is that extra cost when you have to flush all those things? Is it? That's it.
Thank you, Kim. Anybody else? Yep, please.
Rick Ampola, 1017 Foster Street.
What street?
Foster. As the meeting started and the stuff is on the board, I noticed that every one of you have a pamphlet to follow along. But it would have been nice if we all had that same pamphlet, especially people back here. You know, because they can't see. Yeah.
understood. We made the choice not to do that, save money on paper. There was opportunity to come on up.
But I would have liked to have it.
Understood.
So I can read it.
Sue, can we put this on the website?
Website?
Yeah, we can post this, we'll post it's the PowerPoint, so we'll post it on the website. I know it's after the fact, but it is something.
Well, we get some answers to those, we need water.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to have water, but there's some major line items here that we like to transfer out
Oh, I can, unfortunately, I didn't like rehearse that, I can give you that information.
I don't need it, you know, I don't want you to rehearse it, but $382,000, I mean, I just, that's a logical question to ask, is what is that? And I think if you could see the actual, what this is going for, it would make the decision a lot easier for a lot of people sitting in the audience.
Go ahead.
And, you know, some of
John?
the other charges,
John,
yes.
the budget will be available at City Hall before we adopt it for the public to review, and it will go into specific line items. It does go into specific line items, and that should answer your question.
It will be available.
I need you, if you have a question, please stand and,
It's not a question.
we're not
It's a
in
no.
public comment then. We have public comment in just a few minutes. I just gotta keep some order, so bear with us, please.
And I guess the last thing,
It's now that we need.
this is the official audit, and it shows 2.3 million.
It's last year's audit, where I did this off of current funds and projected results.
Yeah, this is the one that was presented 2 months ago at the city commission meeting.
But I'm looking forward to the next year, so
So,
correct, but also we're kind of like a
right,
little bit apples to
so
oranges.
do we have the 2.3 million in the audit, or do we don't have the 2.3 million?
Yes, the audit is correct.
That's not cash, John. That's assets too.
Okay.
All right, any more questions? Hearing none, no. One more?
Yeah, one more. Talking about service fee, how do we calculate that?
I gotta admit, I'm new and I don't have the details of how we do that.
What was
I
the
can
question?
readily get that for you though.
How's the service fee calculated?
It
fixed
is,
charge?
it is high, and it seems arbitrary.
Okay, noted.
There are water bills that are lower than our service fee in other parts of this county. So it's something that I think needs to be addressed and it's brought up to the public too.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure,
Yeah,
please
please
stand
stand
up.
905 West Musing
Can
Avenue.
you stand, please?
Yeah, can you go back to the slide that shows like the average water uses? At the end, you say it's 825 if you have average water use. Which one are you using as average? The yellow one?
Yeah, 4,000 gallons per, this is for residential.
So out of those 1,030 customers, how many of them fall in that category?
It depends on how many people are in your house and how much water.
But you're
you
saying
use.
it's the average usage, so.
So we can look at it a couple different ways. So when you do a breakdown of the number of houses we have per resident, it actually comes out to about 2.5 people per house. And when you break down the water consumption based on the population, that number shows that the average individual use is about 1,000 gallons per person per month.
So are you taking businesses out of that then?
Yes,
For the
that
average?
is correct.
Okay.
Melissa Morgan, 312 Elm. So when you're taking the average, is it, like, I see bills on a regular basis that are no usage, minimum, they have just a service fee. Are you including that?
So in here, yeah, and it's just,
Because you have all of these.
Yeah, I
going
tried
all
to-
year long,
I tried
so your
to-
average skews. the
yeah.
average.
So what I tried to do with this is present a spectrum of use. So we have a household, and again, this is just for residents, I didn't consider businesses. So like if a resident unit used 2,000 gallons per month, you kind of follow this top line across. We've got the water service fee, and then the volume cost is $20. So the new bill would be about $49. And then follow that over, we have the old bill, and then that's, the last column is your change. So if you kind of know what you use and you're above average, just think, did you use 6,000 gallons a month? And then you can follow this line across.
Is that a percentage, a straight percentage?
It's not a percent, it's the cost. Yeah, so no percents are involved in here, this is like the actual cost. 4,000 gallons, your ready to serve fee or your water service fee is $27.96. Your volume charge is $41.97. Questions or no questions?
Hold on, yeah, well, she's not done.
Does that answer the question?
Go ahead.
Brianna Jorgensen, 518 Prospect. I've only lived here for a couple of years now, but from my experience, there is definitely more than 2 residents per household in 90% of the homes in this town.
Yep, that's okay, and we've got that covered in this table. So if you have, I calculated a resident uses around, average resident uses about 1,000 gallons. If you have 6 people in your house, you can look at the line that has 6,000 gallons used.
I have a question.
No, hold on a sec. Do you have a
Yeah.
question?
Zach Eckert, 931 West Music Avenue. So, I think this would be a lot easier to understand. No one looks at their bill and looks at gallons used, they look at the dollars they're paying. So could the numbers be proposed based on actual, what people in town are using? The city, I assume, has data on what everyone's actually consuming a month, average household, not, you can take businesses out of that. Could this data be presented to us on what the actual city residents are using? And instead of gallons used, let's look at our current bills and what our current bill is gonna do. I couldn't tell you what I use per month in water, but I know every month what my dollar
Total
rate
bill
is.
is.
I think that is what a lot of people are, getting annoyed with, is that no one knows what the gallons use is, and that whole table's based on an assumption of the number of people in their house.
No, it's
I don't-
not.
It's
not.
usage,
Your
That,
usage.
2,000 gallons,
Usage.
6,000 gallons.
understood, got it. So can we change that assumption instead of gallons used to what the actual city residents are doing on average? I think that'd be a lot more helpful.
We tried that.
There's such an extreme range from one house to another.
Why? It's just.
Some people use tons and tons of.
Some people shower twice a
The
day.
average is still gonna be the average, whether it's gallons or dollar bills, it's, math is math.
So I did do that, I took businesses out, I went through, I did the average household, like totaled it all up, divided it by the number of people, it's about 1,000 gallons per person per month, so that's the average.
Bill Savage, 402 West Onoda. You say you do this every year?
Mhm.
What was it last year, the percentage?
The,
Increase, I'm sure it was an increase.
yep, we had, it was inflation, the consumer price index, which was 3%.
Okay. Why?
So
3
basically,
times that now?
because we have some projects and then we have the financial obligations. So,
The rate study itself, we don't do a complete rate study every year. We've been, the last 5 or 6 years, we've just been using CPI.
Actually, we have since 2008.
yeah,
May I?
go ahead.
Whether you realize it or not, your water and sewer bill has been increasing at the consumer price index rate since 2008 when we did the big project. You guys remember the big project?
You're still paying for that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll pay for that until 2048. When we bonded for that project, one of the bonding requirements were that we increased our water and sewer rates by the CPI every year automatically without question. We had to do that. We're legally bound to do that.
So that's what's going on right now.
So, and the other part of the question is, have you ever not gotten the amount that you're budgeting because we've commented on it or because we haven't commented? Have you ever not gotten?
Revenue is never guaranteed, so basically, that's why we need the reserve. So if we don't use as much water as we projected, we've got some reserves to kind of weather that.
But you're not asking us to vote. You're just telling us about why it's costing so much.
Right.
So we don't have a choice in the matter. I mean, the next thing for us to do to save money would be to pay for the Anna River. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's not, I have not gotten, no, it's a complaint. It's not a question. I'll get to that.
Becky, did you have a question?
I was waiting for public comment,
Okay.
sorry. I didn't know if that was going on now.
No, not yet. I'm
Okay.
just waiting for if
Thank
anybody
you.
else has any other questions.
I don't think she answered his question. is there a year that we have not hit the benchmarks that we have needed to hit?
Yes, in fact,
That's why we're asking.
exactly what kind of Rod got into. And in fact, in the early 2000s, we were not meeting those benchmarks. And the state came in and said, you will meet those benchmarks. And that is how we ended up with having that annual CPI increase. So yes, that has happened.
But that was the state intervening, not
Correct.
A vote.
And so we have to do
not
that.
our opinion or anything, not any of that. It's just the state telling you what to do.
It's mandated, we don't have a choice.
That makes sense.
And from 2008 to date, we have met that.
Well,
No, we did some bigger increases when Devin first started.
Right, 10%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years, you did 10%.
It's like 2012, 13, 14, something like
Yeah,
that.
we had fallen behind at that point.
But that, none since then.
Not since then, we've been in CPI.
One more.
Yep. Zach Eckert, 931 West Munising Avenue. Can reserves be funded any other way? Like, are there other alternatives to funding the reserves? So this way of funding is obviously hitting the individuals quite a bit. Are there other ways that, you know, everything's gonna hit the individuals eventually, but are there other sources to cut to be able to fund the reserves that way?
there are no typical ways to fund reserves other than user fees.
Because of the enterprise fund, correct?
Right, well, we can't take tax money, which is how the city gets their money.
Okay, thank you.
There's
One
not
thing
really-
that has helped us not have to do this already is there's been a lot, we've received a lot of grant money on some of these big projects. And that's the one thing that helps keep that down, is finding grants. So as often as we can, we're constantly applying for grants.
Thank you, sorry I missed that earlier.
Okay, last call, any more questions? Hearing none, we're gonna move on to item D, public comment, 4-minute limit.
Miss C.
C, rescheduled, oh, I'm sorry, thank you, Sue. Rescheduled the May 12th, 2026 special meeting. We were thinking of having a second meeting within the next couple weeks or so. There was a conflict on the 12th. So, what does the commission feel?
I think we should.
I'm retired, I can meet anytime.
Me too.
Avoid Thursdays if we could, but
What's that?
I'd like to avoid Thursdays if we could.
Okay.
What is the 12th?
That's next Tuesday. How's the 19th?
After the city meeting?
We have the 18th as a meeting.
Is the
Right.
meeting. Well, Jordan can't do Thursdays. It's the 13th.
Okay.
I had 13.
13th?
I mentioned
Okay.
I'm retired.
All right, then we will schedule a next meeting for May 13th at 6 o'clock. And have the questions answered, more questions answered from the city manager. All right, so we got that. Let's move on to item D, public comment.
And this is a 4-minute limit,
Yeah, it's,
okay?
it's quick.
Name and address, so please.
And I've never done this before, so don't laugh at me, please. Becky Johnson, N6976 Chapel Drive. I am not a Munising resident, but my husband and I own 4 rental properties in the city. So we own 4 properties in the city, we have for over 30 years. If you have a pencil to jot anything down, go ahead, because the 4 in the city, I was figuring this out today. Birch Street has 8 adults living in it. I paid $564 for my water bill last month, and there's no laundry available, so that's just water and sewer. Anoda Street apartment has 3 adults, paid $161, no laundry available. Prospect Street, we have 5 adults, I paid $260 with the laundry. Superior Street, 7 adults, $290 with the laundry. So we also own a place in Houghton that has 6 adults living in it. My bill was $46 last month. Like, I don't know if this is apples to apples, but we don't have this huge fee every month. It has not gone up in the 20 years that I have owned this place. Like, we have students that live there, it has a full laundry unit. And every month when I get that bill, I'm like shocked. Like, how can there be such a disparity between Munising and Houghton? I don't know what the answers are. Our taxes are lower there. Also, it includes the garbage in everything. We don't have a separate garbage bill or recycling bill. And this is a legit question. I love our water system, I love our employees here, I'm not complaining about any of them. But every month, like this new millage that went through this week, totally for it, glad it passed, but I already have to raise rent. All of my renters are blue collar people, simple, I've got a few renters in the room. And I love them all, they're doing their best, but I have to raise it again because we're not rich people. We try to keep it so affordable. I pay all the water bills because it's 1 meter in each building. So I just try to include it in the rent, and it's getting to where our insurance went up. I was paying about $800 on each building 3 years ago. It went up to $3,200 a building. These increases are killing the housing industry. They're killing my renters. I have not passed that cost on to them yet, but I have to this year. And it's horrible. Some of these people are barely making it. Some of them don't own vehicles. To try to save money to put back into your buildings for new windows, new furnaces, new roofs is impossible when you cannot keep up raising the rent to cover all these costs. And this might seem like a small increase to you, 13%, but it affects everybody, it's not just $10 a month. Like, it's a lot more than that for us. And I hear there's gonna be another millage asked this fall, and we all wanna vote yes, but like, who's gonna be able to do that anymore? So, this is a legit question. I don't know if you need to go to Houghton and see how they do it. Maybe they have some money pot that we don't know about, but I would really love to know how they pay $40 a month for 6 people with the laundry, and we're paying over $500 for 8 people. Like, I need to know those answers so I can understand why we get charged. A lot of times my bills are over $700 for those 8 people. So 500 and whatever is actually pretty cheap for us last month, and I'm not sure why. Maybe someone didn't take a shower, honestly, because there's no laundry in there. So if you guys know the answers to any of those questions, I would be happy to hear from you about it. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Good points back, yes.
Anybody else? Oh, do you have any public comments, sir? Dave, you have something to say?
No, I just felt that if we were paying into the,
Well, if you have a public comment, please step up.
You have to go up and say your name and your address.
Do it.
Why, just let them speak there.
Any other public comment?
Cassie Steiner, 905 West Music Avenue. Just wondering, John brought up a good, looking at the budget. One of the things that just stuck out just briefly, I've never even looked at the budget, but he said, what's this rental? And you said, oh, that's the vehicles we use, so we're renting them from the city, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Could we find a way to, like, we can't take the city taxes and fund the water, but could they give us a break on the renting of the vehicles so we have more money in the water budget, we're not paying back to the city? I mean, that's just one simple example, but could that budget be looked at to go, hey, yeah, we can't take enterprise money from the city and put it into the water, but are we paying bills to the city where we could kind of, does that make sense?
It does, do you want me to?
I can answer that
Well,
question.
it's actually supposed to be public comment at this point. And,
Well, it was just, it was a suggestion.
It's a good idea.
Is there other things in that budget that could be looked at like that, where you could go, oh, well, that technically wouldn't be enterprise money, but it would be a cost savings to the water.
Any other public comments?
Rod brought up a good point. Is there a list we can just, when we get our copy of it, just look at what those expenses are? And instead of lumping it together, is that available?
I can't hear you, John.
Oh, he wants to list the expenses.
Yeah, I mean, the city manager is willing to sit down with you and go over
Yeah, I'm not questioning.
revenues and expenses line item by line item.
Yeah, well, when it's lumped
We
together.
are preparing the budget, which will be ready within about a week or so, and
But
it will
even
be
if,
available.
do you have a copy of last year's budget?
We do. I
I
don't know
think
if
it's
it's
online.
online.
Oh, is it online?
Yep.
Is it broken out, those items?
It should be.
If it's online, it's broken out, that answers my question. Thank you.
comments in there.
Thank you, I
Okay.
appreciate that, I can do this.
I just wasn't sure.
So, okay, hearing no more comments, we're gonna move to item E, adjournment. I'd entertain the motion to adjourn.
I have,
Oh, okay. Last one.
I have a couple of comments. I've been on the city commission the longest. I first got on in 1994. When I got on in 1994, to be kind, my father's generation governed the city. And my father's generation grew up in the Great Depression. And they believed that compound interest was usury. And so they never borrowed any money to fix what needed to be fixed. In 1994, the city's water, sewer, storm sewer was literally crumbling beneath our feet. It was 100 years old. We were putting tar paper patches on broken sewer mains. It was absolutely abysmal. We were in awful shape. For 10 years, I struggled to get the city commission convinced that we needed to fix it. It took 10 years, and in 2007 and 2008, we borrowed $13 million to fix 75% of it. That's all we could afford. And for whoever pointed out the rates in Houghton, the people in Houghton probably did not do that. They probably were prudent and replaced and repaired their equipment and their facilities as it deteriorated. That's just conjecture on my part. The equipment rental charges, every department in the city pays equipment rental to the motor pool. And that funds the motor pool to buy rolling stock. And if you've looked at the city trucks and the city equipment, they're pretty ragged because equipment is expensive. It's really expensive. Keep in mind that your water bill, what we refer to as the water bill, is our water and sewer bill. And the water bill is approximately 2/5 of the total water and sewer bill. So a 13.4% increase, which is what Michelle is advocating for, which she has to sell to us, averages out to be a 6% increase on your water and sewer bill, okay? Since 2007, we have been paying a CPI increase on our water bill every year of approximately 4%. That's water and sewer. So we're not asking for a 13.4% increase in your water and sewer bill, just the water half, and the net increase would be about 6%. Becky, to your question about your rental, where'd she go?
She's right here.
Oh, there you go. The fixed charge is the same for every one of your rentals. The disparity in usage accounts for the difference. You know, that's all I got to say. Okay. Oh, no, I got one more thing. Unlike taxes, we can't put this to a vote of the people. Imagine if we left it up to the people to vote on what their water and sewer rate would be. Imagine that.
It'd be like, oh.
Yeah. And you know, I don't want to disparage the greatest generation, but I had a city commissioner who just flat looked me in the eye and said, we will never borrow money ever as long as I'm on the city commission, ever. We will pay 10% increased construction cost every year and inflation costs every year rather than borrowing money at 2%. It took me 10 years to convince that generation that we needed to borrow the money we needed to borrow in 2007 to fix what needed to be fixed, which was everything. The reason that this is more than CPI this year is because of the two major projects we have to fund with bond issues.
So with the bond issue, and we have to pay that, what was the year when it was gonna be paid off?
2048.
Okay, so are we getting another bond that's gonna have to be
40
paid off
years.
again? So we're having one bond over here and now we're starting another one?
We have several other bonds too.
And how many years do we have to
We have revenue bonds and we
build
have
on
general
the?
obligation bonds.
some sewer next
Did you
year.
ever do that?
And
Yeah.
if anybody thinks that they can do a better job, I took this seat because it was vacant. Nobody ran for it. Nobody wanted the job. And I took it because I wanted to help again. Anybody who would like this seat can have it. I will step down willingly and turn it over to the next person.
Okay, one more comment. Go ahead.
This is rough when we start looking at other communities. I mean, before moving to Munising, I lived in Chatham and served on the village council out there, and their fees, their entire water bills are less than what their fees are. And when I served there in '21, they had a good idea that this was coming down the pipeline with the legal changes that were leading to this. And I'm not happy with how this is going along. That being said, I don't know how we don't work this out. I would like to see, moving forward, the commercial side of this, the larger pipes, see if there's some kind of way to understand that side of things too, because in our master plan, it talks about growing as a community, which also includes the commercial side, and there was nothing in this presentation that dealt with that. And I know that there are people that are dealing with that, especially when you are considering landlord-type scenarios where you've got larger pipe diameters for multifamily, but also like if you've got a business downstairs and you've got an upstairs residence. If we are going to be stuck in having to do this, we need to be better at explaining some of this stuff. And today was a good start, but we have to have the rest of it too.
Thank you. Okay, I'm closing public comments.
I have a comment, public comment.
All right.
No or yes?
No, go ahead.
The increase that Michelle's talking about for 4,000, remember we're averaging that, is about $8.27, which is about $100 a year, just water increase. I understand that. In view of Tuesday's millage, which virtually doubles our school tax, and now we're talking about tacking on another $100 or whatever. I know we need to do something. I'm opposed to the 13%. I don't think it's necessary. I think we can cut that in half and find money someplace else in the budget to help us. I mean, if we go with a 6.7%, it's still $40. And I get that it's $40 and it's all this on TV, it's only 63 cents a day, it's only 63 cents a day. Well, if you add a whole bunch of those 63 cents a day up, it gets expensive. I think as a commission, we can come up with some way to mitigate this 13.4% increase. I understand we want to try for 190,000, that's a good thing, but that's not a mandate we have to have. I think we can find, if we were to do 6.7%, that comes out to about 100,000. If we can't find $90,000 someplace, then I don't think we're doing our job. My comment.
Okay, last call. All right, hearing none, we're going to item E. I entertain a motion for adjournment. Motion made by Commissioner Birch, supported by Commissioners Justardens to adjourn. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we're adjourned.